Um, oh, I just opened up Facebook and it was William Timmons. William Timmons, day 1311. William Timmons. Um, yeah, he's just an empty suit. He's no good. He's absolutely no good, and we will try very very hard to expose just the level of evil that he has committed in Richard Halliday's case, against his constituents, against the United States Army, the soldiers, which is the United States of America, right? And he's supposed to be a representative, and the level of evil that he's committed, and what how he's handled uh, his constituents, and this being us, is is so bad. It disqualifies him for being a representative, from being a representative. Absolutely. There's no doubt in our mind. And so we will try to let everyone know, warn everybody. And I think that that information is already out. He's trying to run on the coat strings of President Trump, and maybe we need to write President Trump a letter just warning him against William Timmons, because he's not loyal. He can't be trusted. If there's no loyalty, this is the problem today. There is no loyalty. And if there's no loyalty to the country, if there's no loyalty to your oath of office, um, you know, then how can we have a future, right? We're just going to spiral down into the depths. And I hear a lot of gnashing of teeth already. We have such a huge pedophile problem, and so many children are being tortured, and we have this huge, huge pornography problem that extends into child pornography, which is child torture. And you can just hear the gnashing of teeth, the screams as the society of those communities spiral down. It causes so much pain in so many different ways. And so, that's why I've always had behind me, and this was God's hand all over this, because before Richard went missing, I started painting my picture. I don't know what possessed me, except for the Holy Spirit, to say, okay, what am I going to paint today? Oh, I'm going to paint Saint Sophia with Justinian and Theodora. Yeah, I'm going to paint. Um, let's see if I can get it this way. Yeah, I'm going to paint Saint Sophia with Justinian and Theodora. That's what I'm going. And it's still not finished. I still have to finish it. But yeah, and I'm starting to get the will, the will to paint, yeah, the inspiration to do that. And I think I'll finish up that painting. Um, and I've said to those out there that know information, and I would suggest, I mean, I think from the very beginning, you should know that the truth is going to come out. And I think now is a very, very good time to speak up, and for information leading to finding Richard. Um, of course, we have our $150,000 um, reward. It's a combination reward, but we'll make it happen. And the other thing that I've said, just out of gratefulness, I will paint them an oil picture, because there's nothing like an oil, right? There's absolutely. I mean, I love watercolor, I love acrylics, especially that artist, that Western artist, that young girl who won, what was it, $300,000 for her beautiful Western acrylic. Just amazing. I don't know if you saw that in the news. I think it was last year. But yeah, I will paint an oil. There's just nothing like an oil. I don't, that's my opinion. So let's see if you're on. Yeah, there's Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and not her husband, her son, Tomas Hoffman. Um, yeah, let's see if this is on. Get this on. So this is breaking news. Good evening, Anicia. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for your prayers and your love, because that is what has sustained us going forward, right? Is all the prayers, all the love. God's hand has been all over this. And we were having a meeting this last week with the Department of State there in Chihuahua, Mexico. And his attache, FBI attache, requested that we, okay, so this is the FBI attache, right? And what is he? He never heard of a Nadal Baim. Who is Nadal Baim? The FBI man that walked into the Dollar General to speak to the cashier and say, you can take down the flyers on the door because the FBI have found Richard, and it's not good news. He's dead. He's dead. So that they were looking for Richard's remains in 5 different places there in Juarez. But he said 5 different places. She said, he lost me there. I don't understand. Yeah, because he was dismembered. Richard was dismembered, and they were looking for Richard's parts in Juarez, and they found him. And the attache for the FBI for Juarez, for the Department of State in Juarez in Chihuahua, Mexico, did hadn't even heard of that. Hadn't even heard. This is the tampering, the level of tampering that Nieto has done. Okay, so allegedly, the supervisory agent Nieto, I don't think it was Zach Roberts. Maybe it was Zach Roberts. I don't think it was Zach Roberts because Zach Roberts, so far, we haven't found him to have the level of um, conflicts of interest that Jesus Eddie Nieto Jr. has. He's been there for over 20 years, and that's where he was raised. He's not that old of a man, a shell of a man, half of a man. Um, he was raised there in El Paso. He has all kinds of connections. Why is he allowed to stay there? Because absolutely that is just a breeding ground for conflicts of interest when are the supervisory director for the FBI of El Paso and you were raised there and you have all these friends and you know all these people and everybody wants favors and that can turn into big money. That can turn into a lot of money, and if you have some money problems, you know. But his wife has major conflicts of interest with the intelligence agency there because she works on Fort Bliss, seemingly with Bradford Bugado, and they have conflicts of interest together with, of course, Bradford Bugado and Nadal Baim. Um, Absolutely. And they have conflicts of interest with Angela Kachurga. With Angela Kachurga and her family, which has conflicts of interest with the chief medical examiner, Mario Reskin Ortiz. And it goes on and on it goes on and on. Um, so this is definitely a very well-oiled, took a long time to build this up, little machine there in El Paso, a criminal enterprise machine that really hurt so many, and is connected to 3905 Bliss Avenue, which is connected to Felix Valenzuela, um, with Mario Ruskin Ortiz, to the Walmart case, right? Because Felix Valenzuela is the defense attorney for Patrick Crucius, who still, I mean, even though this week the defense was like to Bill Hicks and Bill Hicks's first chair, because Bill Hicks was not first chair and there was no sight of John Briggs anywhere. So maybe our letters are starting to work, but and our open records requests and findings of all of that, maybe they're starting to work, because there's so many crimes going on in our law enforcement agencies and organizations. There's so much crime that we have been reporting within those agencies that are supposed to be law enforcement agencies, but they forgot who they were. They really did, and they've just played very, very dirty, and they've played very, very dirty with Yvonne Rosales, and she fell for it. She fell for it. She's not perfect. She absolutely fell for it. And it got her in big trouble because, you know, uh, she could not, she did not have the ability then, because of being compromised. She did not have the ability to fight back. And so, and that relationship with George Alahana just did her a great disservice, and tainted her forever. And, that's a real shame, because she was absolutely duly elected in an upset election. And here she is, the very first female to sit in the El Paso, those are County District Attorney seat there in El Paso. I think it's Colbert County, and another one, Humbert. Anyway, um, I'm sorry about that, but I know it's a tri-county DA seat, and El Paso is the main county for it. And here she was, the first woman, and the first Hispanic woman on top of that. And of course, the enemy is lurking. The enemy is there to sabotage and to tempt and maybe flatter, and uh, you know, um, what can I say? Uh, when you're flattered and you're tempted, and maybe you're lonely, um, yeah, it's when you fall for it. When you fall for it, it's not a good thing. And being what it is in our society right now, this sex cult uh, ideology or whatever, because I'm very, very conservative on that. And the reason why I'm very conservative is because of these 3 years. These 3 years, I was always conservative, but these 3 years, to see the sex cult and how vile and vulgar they are, and to see the 85,000 missing children, it's just like they ignored that they're missing. They just ignored that they're missing. And so many of them are used for sexual human smuggling, and worse, and worse. And, all of this pedophilia right now is just off the charts. It's just terrible, with the pornography, which is child torture, the child pornography, which is child torture, which Dallas Hart was, running over to his mother's house to get. That shows you the level of his thinking. It's pretty degenerate, very degenerate. Um, and now we have this breaking news that these Mexican nationals, because you have to realize that these are not Americans. They were never Americans. They are not Americans. Maybe they're trying to be Americans, but they're not Americans. They are Mexican nationals. And Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, she met Alexander Gerhard Hoffman Roth decades ago, absolutely decades ago, and that is really another place where God's hand is all over this, because I was born at White Sands. I went to school on Fort Bliss. I went to school in El Paso. I know that my dad was a missile repairman there at White Sands and all the silos area. And my maiden name is Schnabel. Schnabel is a very German name. Um, and all my grandparents were German. Um, so of course I speak German. And my mom and dad belonged to the German American Club there on Fort Bliss, because the Germans were there, the aeronautical engineers, the missile engineers, everybody, you know. And of course, Alexander Gerhard Hoffman wrote. He was an engineer there from Germany, stationed on Fort Bliss, and he met Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. Now, I don't know if I believe the whole story about how they met and the contents of that, because of my knowledge of those time periods, because we would go over to Juarez all the time. You know, it was just great. It was just so great, to go over there and get a good meal, get haircuts, or watch. My favorite thing to do they would make these glass animals. They would blow the glass and make these glass animals, and we got to watch them. And it was just an amazing time. Have a lot of really, really good memories there. So I, just feel like it is not abnormal. It's not far-reaching to see that Alexander Gerhard Hoffman wrote would meet a Mexican national, and fall in love and get married, and but that didn't last, because they were divorced. And Thomas Hoffman is the younger of two sons. There is a daughter involved too. So this is very, very important, because on August 3rd, 2019, um, um, Alexander was the father, this aeronautical engineer. Um, and Hoffman is a big name in Germany and Austria also, when it comes to planes, plane manufacturing. So I don't know if it's a huge name, but it's Hofmann Flugzeug. And this is another where God's hand is all over this, because my grandmother lived in Germany. I visited Germany. I went to Austria all the time. That's just lived most of my life in Germany. So yeah, uh, so to put things together is a huge blessing. Um, yeah, and he was killed. He was shot right at the door. He was shot brutally in the head at the door of the Walmart there in El Paso on August 3rd, 2019. Um, and I'm very sorry to have to announce that. I know a lot of people know that. It's been almost 5 years, so I think that's been like, you know, it's now it's no really big news like it was. I mean, people are waiting to get justice for um, Gerhard Hofmann wrote, for Alexander Gerhard Hofmann wrote. We need justice for him. He was brutally shot in the head right there. I think Memo Garcia was one of the first to get shot. He was shot outside the door. Okay, outside, because he was working outside doing the fundraising. And so when you piece together the events, and of course we do, because the Walmart shooting is part of Richard's case. It's connected. And do not just believe me. Go to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, because she targeted Richard's case. She targeted Richard's case. She did everything she could so that Richard would not be searched for and not be found. Okay? This is, breaking news. And with her on that was her son, Thomas Hofmann. Now, so here her ex-husband, prominent ex-husband, okay, that makes her prominent. That makes her son prominent. All right, he's no slouch. She's no slouch. They have, a lot to lose. They have a lot to lose. And to have her ex-husband, the father of Tomas, be shot in the head there on Walmart, but then for them to be concerned at the same time with not finding Richard Halliday is, I think it's, people need to ask why. Why? Why we can understand why Leilani Hart interfered in the search and investigation into our son Richard Halliday, the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier, because she's the mother of the suspect, the major suspect, Dallas Hart, Richard's platoon leader. We can understand that. We can understand that. And we absolutely know through the media that Leilani Hart has a relationship with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. Okay? They have a relationship together because they know Leilani Hart knew things before about Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and mentioned them and mentioned her name before it ever came out in the news. Okay, before it was out. So they have a behind the scenes relationship. So this is, so my question is, does Tomas have a relationship then with Dallas Hart? Is that why Dallas Hart and Deborah Sarah West teaching Dallas Hart how to fly? Which planes were they using? Was there a connection with Tomas and Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia? We know that there was a connection with Leilani Hart, but was there a connection with Dallas Hart? And that has to do with planes, because this seems to be like a common thread through this whole um, investigation. And of course, this is, researching our son's investigation because we were asked to. And so going over all of our notes, going through everything, doing our searches to put together an accurate report to the FBI attaché to the Department of State there in Chihuahua, Mexico, specifically in Juarez, um, about Nadal Baim, the father-in-law of Bradford Bugado of the G3 of the 32nd AdCom. You have to ask, uh, because if Nieto and Marlon Soto and Rosa Marie Valdez and Lalani Hart and Dallas Hart, um, and then you have um, Ernest Christopher Grant with Donna Sifford, and then you have this connection with the chief medical examiner, which is no slouch either. I mean, he gets almost $500,000 a year to be a chief medical examiner. So from the taxpayers. So, and he has, all these connections now. Nieto with Bradford Bugado with Nadal Baim, and uh, Angela Kachurga, which is the press, right? And then you have what's going on in the DA office, in cahoots with Bob Moore, who works together with Angela Kachurga because Angela Kachurga is Bob Moore's wife, Kathleen Gannon, for Border Zine of UTEP. Do you see these connections? This is, people in prominent positions. And I didn't even mention James Courtney Hart, right, in the VA position, where you get so much access to files, to file information. And also, the chief medical examiner gets all this access to file information. I mean, talk about, wanting to really divvy up your identity. You can manipulate your identities and everything, if you have access to all these files. So, and the system, and you don't have the oversight because you are the law enforcement. If you're the supervisor agent for the FBI, if you are chief of your section in the VA, if you are DES, Thomas Kane, if you are CID, if you are intelligence, belonging to the intelligence group for generals in the 32nd AdCom, right, with the G3, and Cynthia Hernandez Nieto being in there too. You've got a real sweet deal going on. This business plan has, you can do some real damage to the country, and they have. You can do some real damage to the economy. You can do some real damage to children. You can do some real damage with fentanyl. You can do some real damage with weapons smuggling and brown tip bullets that are largely unregistered, uncounted for, because they're special ops bullets. And, we received a tip that those were the bullets found, that those bullets, I don't know if they were the only bullets found, but that those bullets, because they are such specialized bullets, that they were found at the Walmart mass shooting scene. And what those bullets show and tell is that, they're not used with AK-47s. They're used with M4s. And I listed out what they're commonly used, what they are compatible with. And these brown tip bullets are so specialized because they have 71 grams in each bullet, instead of 62 or something like this, right? And I hope I'm saying that right. But what that means, from what we have studied, Team Farm Richard Halliday, is that they are fast. And because they are fast, they can pierce armor. And they are also very accurate. And so that these bullets are used with a short barrel rifle like the M4. The M4 has a short barrel. And what that does is, also with these types of bullets that are all copper, and they're fast, is that they are precise. They're very precise. The faster a bullet is, the more precise it is. So I believe so. I believe that's right, from what, please, out there that are very experienced shooters and with weapons, please let me know. But these are precise bullets. These are bullets that you use when you have a precise target, when you're targeting. This does not make sense to the narrative that Patrick Crucius was just in there because there's so many Mexicans that he drove 700 miles or something like this, 14 hours or whatever, so that he can just shoot up Mexicans. It's the most ridiculous narrative. And we know that there are anomalies because of Ernest Christopher Grant being part of this. And as these people get connected, you see that the narrative is falling apart very quickly. That, it seems to me that this was a very orchestrated, deliberate, targeted attack, for one. For two, it was a diversion to, and this is our investigative research, a diversion from the complaints and the investigation that was caused because of Richard's complaints, because we know from soldiers that the IG were all over the barracks because of Richard. Thank God. Thank God that he called them out, because who knows what was going on in that barracks, because we know that they're marketplaces for illegal drugs. We know that they're flush with illegal weapons. Even afterwards, they continued it. So, and we know that they were housing 14-year-old girl, pimping her out at night to soldiers. And the young girl was the stepdaughter of one of the guards under the chief of security on Fort Bliss, Thomas Kane. So this is, these are all hard facts all the way through. We know that Ernest Christopher Grant is a perpetual criminal, that he had an open warrant for his arrest. We know that he's up to no good. We know his connections to informants. We know his connection with Donna Sifford. We know Donna Sifford's connections. And Donna Sifford was Customs and Border Protector. So you see, with Customs Border Protector, CID, FBI, intelligence within 30-second ADCOM, with informants, with the VA, with DES and the Chief of Security of Fort Bliss, and with UTEP, with Park University, with El Paso Matters, which is very connected to Kvia, which we never knew at the time, and El Diario. Um, Absolutely, you see how uh, they can, oh, and the DA office and the AG office, and of course, attorneys. So they have the legal covered. Um, you can see that they absolutely had the motive and they had the power to orchestrate a mass shooting. Were they able to do it? Do they have the resources to do it? Could they leak out, smuggle? There's a smuggling of weapons problem on Fort Bliss. There's a smuggling of ammunition on Fort Bliss. So, is this possible that M4s would be smuggled out? Is it possible that brown tip bullets would be smuggled out? Um, is it possible that the medical examiner could cover for it? Is it possible that the FBI could cover for a mass shooting? Is it possible that Purchase funeral homes could cover for this mass shooting? That Bill Hicks was uh, representing? That Bill Hicks was representing? Is that why they wanted Yvonne Rosales out? I mean, all of these pieces, because, and for Bill Hicks to be put in there, right, is also very concerning because he was representing a witness in the very case that he was supposed to prosecute and bring forward. Is that why they're not prosecuting and bringing forward the uh, uh, the August 3rd, 2019 Walmart mass shooting? Is that why they're not even indicting anybody for the um, forced disappearance and murder of our son, Richard Halliday? You know, um, just the fact, let's go back to Nadal Baim, just the fact, and this gave me real shivers today, just to go over it again. We were called less than an hour after the incident happened by the cashier. Ma'am, please come. Something happened. You have to come. A man came in here. He said he was FBI. You need to come. It's not good. I said, okay, we will be right over there. We beelined because we were in the truck anyway when we got the got the call. We beelined over to the Dollar General store. Absolutely, just by the gift, just a grace of God, I asked her if I could videotape what she was saying because I was shaking like a leaf. Okay? Can you imagine the emotions that you go through when you're told, come quick, it's not good. It's about your son and it's not good. It's about the FBI. Can you imagine? I was shaking. You can go into shock. That's how your body reacts to these things. And it's hard to listen to people. It's hard to remember, it's such a difficult situation. So I say, can I just videotape you? Is that okay? And she's like, oh, yeah. I said, because I'll forget. I mean, I'm just a mess right now. I didn't tell her that, but that's how I felt. And I videotaped her witness testimony, and I asked and Rob asked if we could get some CCTV footage, and they took us back and we got the CCTV footage. And right away, because at that time we did not know that the FBI agent Nieto, we thought we gave it to Zach Roberts, FBI agent Zach Roberts, right? That was our point of contact. And, we didn't know that Nieto was a dirty supervisor, right? That he had these conflicts of interest with Bugado, with Nadal Baim. Um, so Nadal Baim runs a import-export business there, right beside the Dollar General. And we didn't know that. We didn't know who he was. He was wearing a mask. This was COVID time. He was wearing a mask. And, so we gave that to the FBI, depending on them, trusting them that they would take the CCTV footage, that they would take the information, the video testimony from the cashier and the other information from the other employees, the information that we gave, and that they would investigate. And now, we find out that the FBI, that the FBI attaché for the Department of State, in a meeting with us that we have prepared for weeks, did not even know about the incident at the Dollar General store. Where is it? Where is it in the file that was given to him? Right? And we did not know. And a couple days later, we received a call, and they said, "Oh no, it's just some guy that's watching your live streams." And then we had a meeting because I started, and others in Team Farm Richard Halliday started investigating, because absolutely we did not buy that. It's kind of like this Walmart narrative, with this manifest. They always do this. Oh, he was online doing, hateful things, and he had a manifesto. But then, they forget to even look closely at Patrick Crusius. Where is Patrick Crusius? Why isn't he coming into the hearings, the status hearings, so that the judge can talk to him? Where is Patrick Crusius? Right? So people can look at him and that he can talk for himself. He's in solitary confinement right across the street. Why don't they bring him in? We could learn a lot from him, and the judge could learn a lot from him. But you see, people don't want to look at him. They don't even demand. I think they do want to look at him, but they don't even know that they could look at him. That they, where is this defense? Why aren't they bringing him out? The judge has said that he has a severe mental health condition. Let's evaluate him. Let's bring him out. What are they his defense attorneys or what? It's, just a show, just a dog and pony show. That's all. That's costing us millions and millions and millions of dollars. There in El Paso, millions of dollars. Where is Patrick Crusius? Because if you look carefully at him, you will absolutely know that the narrative that they're feeding is, when you're talking about Willis, right? It's kind of like the Fawny Willis moment when, she's like, "Oh, well, I paid him in cash. I paid him in cash. I paid him in cash. Yeah, my daddy told me I need to keep cash at home. I paid him in cash. On good times, it's a few thousand. Bad times, it's a few thousand. On good times, it's 15,000. I mean, it's all a dog and pony show. And we're supposed to believe it. And they want us to believe it, knowing that it costs us millions and millions of dollars. And then when we scrutinize it and get upset and say, "Y'all, stop it. You need to be fired. You need to lose your bar license. You need to go to prison because you are abusing your position. And, so we didn't believe what the CID Soto, we didn't know Soto was dirty at the time, but he's so dirty. And we didn't believe what he said. But we absolutely got a very, very good idea that they were covering up Richard's murder at that time. At that time, absolutely. Because the cashier was the most honest, the most authentic person we had talked to. Absolutely. And you can see it in the video. Absolutely an authentic moment of truth. And when you watch the CCTV footage of Nadal Baim, even wearing the mask, it is the most authentic testimony and piece of evidence that we have in this case, when it comes to that Richards remains, even though we have others, right? But that Richards remains were found in Mexico. So we kept looking, and I thought it was somebody in the military that lives close to that area. And it was just a theory, and I've never released that information. And we had a meeting where Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, Brigadier General James Stewart, and of course Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz, and of course Marlon Soto. I remember those four sitting up there, and they proceeded to lie to us that this was just a man that was watching our live streams, and they knew all the time that it was a man named Nadal Baim, the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ATCOM, which is Richard's command. They knew all time, and that he had a conflict of interest with Nieto, the FBI supervisory agent, and also with Cynthia Hernandez Nieto, and in intelligence there on Fort Bliss. They absolutely knew. They knew. They knew. They're not slouches. They knew. And they sat up there and lied to us, which is so many violations of the law. Every one of them needs to be arrested. Every last one of them need to be stripped of their positions, stripped of our beautiful uniforms, our beautiful stars, our beautiful stripes, every last one of them. Of their retirement. Because not only were they committing huge violations against us, and still have and continue to do it, not just with Nadal Baim, but continue to do it, knowing that our son's remains were found. They're still hiding his remains from us. They still are keeping it a secret. They're still not giving his remains to us, and they need to give us his remains to us. But they went on to do other things, and they, at that time, were committing crimes against humanity. And it's all coming out with this whole dog and pony show, really political attack dog, COVID mandates. They were demanding it at the time. And they were continuing that narrative at that time, which was also interfering with so many lives, and destroying so many small businesses while keeping the big box businesses open. And it was interfering in our son's search and investigation. And it was for nothing, for nothing. It was all a dog and pony show. And I absolutely called it out then with my husband. Absolutely. There are some, we don't know the law too well, right? What can I say? I shouldn't say it that way. We don't know how to maneuver through the legal system so much, right? We know now, we're learning real quick. But it's difficult. You have to have, do a lot of studying. The average person can't do it. The average person absolutely can't do it. They have to depend on the system taking care of them. And the system is broken. The system, I shouldn't say the system is broken. The system works, but there is conflicts of interest everywhere, and collusion and corruption everywhere. And that is gumming up our system. I think that's a better way of saying it. Gumming up our system by these criminals that have taken advantage of their position. So, yeah, they still don't want to admit about Richard, and they continue with these narratives that are so divisive, so destructive, and that are major criminals. And so they need to be absolutely arrested. That's my point. They need to be arrested. Sean Bernabe needs to be stripped of his stars. He is unfit to be a general. He's unfit to be in our military. Strip him of that uniform and his stars and all the benefits because of what he did. It's just so bad. The betrayal is so bad. Same thing with McConville. Same thing with Mealy. Mealy just landed a big job with Chase Manhattan. No, what was it? Oh, some big bank. Um, it'll come to me. And he is just, you know, a vile man, an absolute vile leader, a vile, vulgar leader, and caused so much harm, and to our nation. And yet he's getting this job. So we need accountability, and we need to stand up to even David Stewart, who I met his wife and I met his children, and it really hurts me. But he needs to be stripped. Absolutely, he will not have peace. Do you understand these people? Unless we have justice, we are perpetuating their pain, their own pain, because their consciousness, and don't tell me they don't have any, they do. Every one of us has guilt, right? This guilt conscience. And when we do these awful crimes against humanity and keep the truth away from a family about their missing and murdered soldier son, how can they live with themselves? And so to not punish them, okay, not to have accountability, meaning arrest them, try them, and strip them from their uniforms, from their stars, from their, start all over in life. Start all over in life. Confession is a cure of souls. They will feel so much better, I think. At least it would give them a chance to feel better, because they know that justice has been served. And when you know that justice has been served, you can start over. You can start afresh. And even get a little bit of self-respect back from your family. Maybe not from yourself, but maybe from your family. And yeah, Jakovitz the same way. Absolutely vile, vile actions from the command sergeant major, and so many others. So many others. And, we can arrest Nieto, Soto, um, Chris Grant, Donna Sifford. There's a lot. There's some other witnesses that absolutely participated in this vile and vulgar crime against El Pasoans called the Walmart mass shooting. So, Thomas Kane and Ogle, Leilani Hart. Why hasn't Leilani Hart been arrested? Because, she's in cahoots with um, Nieto. Nieto should have arrested her, but he's in cahoots with her. And maybe more. Who knows? Who knows? With this Dreams Cabaret going around, right? So, and now we have Paxton coming out openly and saying that President now, that man that can't put two sentences together, not even a sentence together, is in cahoots with the cartels at the border. That means the cartels are running the border. The cartels are there. And so from the beginning of this, people were telling us, oh, the cartels had nothing to do with this. I would know the cartels have nothing to do with this. No, the cartels have something to do with this. Okay? The cartels would absolutely know they have something to do with this. And because, they, yeah, yep. And it makes you really question Judge Medrano, doesn't it? It really does. So, yeah, um, our focus has absolutely been on John Briggs because John Briggs has caused so many. He could have just done, if he would have just half of his job, if he would have just done half of his job. But that was one of the complaints against him, was that he was not doing any work. He was not doing any work. He was leaving the cases in pieces, meaning there's all this evidence and investigation, but they're not putting the pieces together to see the chronological order of events, who are the suspects, getting a investigative theory, going to trial, putting the witnesses, subpoena and indicting, and all of this stuff that you have to do to get a prosecution, to get accountability, right? To prosecute the case, to get accountability. So he wasn't even doing half of his job. And under Jaime Esparza, there were complaints. Under Yvonne Rosales, but then really he became the de facto district attorney under Bill Hicks, wearing the mask. And Bill Hicks didn't even recuse himself for representing Purchase Funeral Homes in all of this. And who is connected to Purchase Funeral Homes and who's connected to Dreams Cabaret. I mean, so this is, sounds like there's so many different, like it's convoluted, but, and used to a few months ago, a year ago, it was very convoluted to us. We were like, what is going on here? But it's starting to all piece together, and we see what happened and who the players are in all of this. And so, it's getting there. It's getting there. And I think that now the agencies and the organizations are also, who were misled, this is the thing. If the attaché, this is the proof, let's go back to the very beginning of this whole live stream. If the attaché for the Department of State had no idea about the incident in the Dollar General, right? That the FBI, he identified himself as the FBI, that the FBI found Richard's remains in Juarez, Mexico, and you know that it didn't click about Delirious. Maybe he read something about Delirious's testimony and he just threw it out. Maybe he read something about Thomas Kane saying, "Oh yeah, Richard was a good meal for the coyotes," and threw it out. Maybe he read about the PAO saying that the general was looking for, with the Department of State, looking for Richard in Mexico, but he threw it out because maybe nothing was found. Um, and of course, Ryan McMillan, the agent there, that was our point of contact in the Department of State, who said yes, the FBI were looking in Mexico for Richard's remains, and then the General Sean Bernabe, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, uh, looking at the mock Afghanistan village for Richard's remains. Throw all that out. But when you add Nadal Baim in the mix, when you add that testimony from the cashier, everything fits together and changes. If you take him out, all of the others are not as powerful. But once you put the testimony of the cashier and the video of Nadal Baim and him being the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, Richard's command, and him having conflicts of interest with Nieto, the FBI supervisory agent, that's big. That changes everything because all the other testimonies then corroborate what Nadal Baim was saying and what the cashier testified to. And that changes everything. It's huge. So, and then to get to the very beginning of this, that Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and her son, Thomas Hoffman, actively targeted our son's search and investigation to thwart it, to sabotage it, so that he would not be found and that his case would remain in no man's land, in a limbo that never would get answers. Why? Didn't she have enough to deal with the Walmart mass shooting of her ex-husband? Yeah. But don't forget, she's directly connected to Leilani Hart. Everything leads back to Leilani Hart. All of this leads back to Leilani Hart and her getting her mail at Dreams Cabaret. Dreams Cabaret. And we know from this week that Jaguars has been shut down, right? Because of crime going on in Jaguars. Well, those places, the places like Jaguars and Dream Cabaret, are ripe, are breeding grounds for crime, all kinds of crime, and all kinds of criminals. All kinds of criminals. And we know it's notorious for, Dreams Cabaret is already notorious for crime. So, you know, thank you so much for coming on. Please share this information. We are really burning the midnight oil here. And I do want to say that I did vote today. I have my little tag. I don't know if you can see it. I did vote today. Um, in South Carolina, we had our primary. I think it's very important to Really pay attention to who is district attorney. Pay attention to that. Scrutinize that with whatever you have. And in El Paso, you have three coming up. Montoya, who lost. He was the chosen one that was supposed to win, but Yvonne Rosales upset that election. I don't really recommend him. Just from everything I know, I don't recommend him at all. Um, and then you have Alma, oh no, who's this? Casas, Miss Casas, who served under Jaime Esparza. From what I know about Jaime Esparza, I wouldn't recommend her either. And the third one is Alma Trejo. Um, from what I know about Alma Trejo and her help and um, her ruling on Richard's case, that was a good one. Um, she's worth a look at. She's worth a look at. Look at her, and look at her record, and look at read her face and everything, um, and see what you think. But I think the vote for a district attorney is very, very important. And absolutely, whatever you do, I'll stick my neck out on this one. Hell no for Bill Hicks. Hell no. He needs to be arrested. He needs to be tried. And he needs to go to jail. That's my opinion on Bill Hicks. And they can take John Briggs along with. So, that's just my opinion. Um, thank you so much for coming on, and God bless you all. And I will be here tomorrow again, God willing. Bye bye. Thank you, Grace. I see you. Thank you.